An anthology on the bad, the short-lived, and the forgotten shows and events in television history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
On this week's Super Train Mystery, Hail to the Chief. Two dwarfs and a magician replace a presidential candidate with a double so real, even his wife can't tell.
Episode 518, submission number 324, Harper Valley PTA. Harper Valley PTA aired on the NBC television network from January 16th, 1981 to August 14th, 1982 for 30 episodes over 2 seasons.
Again, like Monday's episode, you're not getting a theme song because we would get YouTube strikes. But the theme song was Harper Valley PTA for those on YouTube. For those listening through a podcast player, enjoy Harper Valley PTA.
In 1967, Tom T. Hall wrote a song that would be given to Jeannie C. Riley to record for Columbia to be released in 1968. It was called Harper Valley PTA, and it told the story of a Mrs. Johnson whose teenage daughter attends Harper Valley Junior High. Girl comes home one day with a note from her mother from the local PTA criticizing her for wearing short dresses and spending her nights drinking in the company of men. The note closes with a statement by the PTA that she should do a better job of raising her daughter. At the next PTA meeting, Mrs. Johnson barges in unannounced, wearing a miniskirt, and reveals a long list of the members' private indiscretions. One who has repeatedly asked Mrs. Johnson out on a date, and whose wife is hinted to be committing adultery while he was away. One whose secretary had to leave town for an undisclosed reason. A widowed member who leaves her window shades up and little to onlookers' imaginations. Mr. Harper, absent from the meeting due to the after effects of a recent drinking binge. And another person with a drinking problem, as evidenced by gin on her breath. Sure enough, Mrs. Johnson indeed socked it to the Harper Valley PTA. Taking this sort of idealistic Ohio town straight out of Peyton Place and labeling the members as hypocrites. That song was turned into a 1978 movie starring Barbara Eden, Nanette Vabray, Ronnie Cox, Louis Nye, and Susan Swift. It made $25 million off of a budget of only $1 million. Suffice it to say, a TV version, which followed up on Barbara Eden's character, a widowed wife, and the many shady characters of Harper Valley, was in the offing. Universal Television, in cooperation with Redwood Productions and 10-4 Productions, and Sherwood Schwartz and his son Lloyd, took the events of the movie and expanded upon them to give us this series. Barbara Eden, who played Stella Johnson in the movie, was the only one to reprise her role as a widowed single mother to teenager Dee, played by Jen Thompson, in the fictional town of Harper Valley, Ohio. The namesake of the founder, the Harper family, is central to the plot of this show, most notably the mayor, Otis Harper Jr. He would be the uptight, keeping up appearances type, contrasted to Stella Johnson airing everybody's dirty laundry out. Another comic foil to Stella Johnson is the wealthy and completely snobbish Riley family, which consisted of head of the family Flora, snotty daughter Wanda, her husband Bobby, and their daughter Scarlett. Stuck-up Scarlett was mainly Dee's nemesis, just as her mother and grandmother were Stella's archenemies. In the first season, the action centered around the various members of the Harper Valley PTA and their somewhat weird obsession with one-upping Stella Johnson. Let's talk about the cast of Harper Valley PTA. Stella Johnson was played by Barbara Eden, reprising her role from the movie. She was Jeannie. We all dreamed of her. Playing Stella's best friend, a reporter by the name of Cassie Bowman, is Fanny Flagg, actress, author, comedian, known mostly for her stints on Match Game and not so mostly for writing fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe.
I totally disagree. I think her career was fried green tomatoes.
Playing Stella's daughter, Dee, is Jen Thompson. Playing the teenage daughter, Dee, is Jen Thompson, who hasn't done much outside of this show. Her last known credit was an episode of Law & Order from 2008. Playing Stella's arch nemesis, Flora Simpson Riley, Anne Francine, a Broadway actress. She passed away in 1999. Playing Bobby Taylor, somebody we talked about on this podcast, Rod McCary from Just Our Luck.
And I'm just going to say it right now. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame next year.
Oh, especially when you consider the one role that nobody has mentioned yet. He played Gorgeous George on numerous episodes of The Cool Kids. He was that sexy senior at the nursing facility.
And let's not forget, he was in War and Remembrance. And I will once again say this till my dying day. Why has Steve Martin not gotten the sequel he deserves for The Winds of Whoopi as Whoopi in Remembrance?
Drop the ball there, NBC. One more Rod McCary role that really just blew me away when I saw this a couple of days ago. He played a French art dealer on an episode of Sledgehammer. We'll talk more about that in late February when I cover my Money in the Bank.
Playing another arch nemesis of Stella Johnson, Wanda Riley Taylor, is Bridget Hanley, known for 52 episodes of Here Come the Brides from 1968 to 1970.
Guys, you're not going to believe this. If you search The Winds of Whoopi on Google, I kid you not, our logo for the episode is right next to it when you search for The Winds of Whoopi on Google. Can you believe that, Mike?
I'm doing the search because I just don't believe it.
You think I'd make this up?
Wait a second. Hold on. Not only is our image there, it actually gives the title in big letters, The Winds of Whoopi. The image they use for the show is our friggin' logo.
I told you that.
Well, no, I just saw on the side you had that logo image, but if you actually search, yeah, it isn't a picture of Steve Martin. It isn't a picture of whatever else. It's the logo we used for that episode. Now, also, we know that probably Greg and me right now, we're the only people in the calendar year 2024 who search for The Winds of Whoopi. Nobody's looking for this. Except for us two doing a vanity search right now.
Rounding out the cast of characters who appeared on all 30 episodes, playing Mayor Otis Harper Jr., George Goebel.
And this would have been about the time that he started declining health-wise.
He was on a week at the Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, and he stood at the panel whenever he was introduced. He didn't make the cross stage walk.
I think he did once, but on the second episode, they decided maybe that was a little too much because he was laboring or it just took him a long time to get across the stage.
There are a few more characters here, mostly from the second season, but playing Scarlett Taylor, the stuffy daughter of the Taylor family, is Susie Dean, who was in not much else aside from this. Now, there are several reoccurring characters, most of which we will get to when we talk about the episodes, which we will do now. The first episode, To Dunk or Not to Dunk? Because of a silly misunderstanding, Stella is booted off the annual carnival committee for Harper Valley High, but cooks up a plot with best friend Cassie to get even with the snobbish PTA members.
Man, where do we start with the guests in this episode? To start, there's one character named Willa Mae Jones that Chico didn't cover earlier, played by the inimitable Edie McClurg. Good heavens, if we were to talk about everything she's done, we'd be here forever and a day. She is a legend. There is one other name I want to mention, and I think Greg and Chico know why I want to mention this name. Playing George Kelly, who it appears shows up in 8 episodes of this show. Vic Dunlop. He was on a week of Match Game Hollywood Squares. He was actually on the week of Match Game Hollywood Squares with Butch Hartman. Butchie!
Butchie!
Butchie! Oh, dear God, Butchie!
And we were wondering why Vic Dunlop was famous in 1983. I think we found the reason why. He was on Harper Valley PTA for 8 episodes, besides the occasional stand-up. Mystery solved. But directing this episode, a name who's done quite a bit in television history, Bruce Billson. I remember the name personally from Get Smart, but he's done so much more than Get Smart. 17 episodes of Dinosaurs.
Episode 2, A Husband for Stella. A misunderstanding leads to PTA members to believe that unmarried Stella is having a baby, and they set out to find her a husband to protect the reputation of their upstanding town.
Let's remember, this is 1981. Bastard babies are still kind of taboo, especially to this stuck-up, gonna guess, super conservative town. It definitely is not a liberally thinking town.
Episode 3, Male and Female. That is, male as in the check is in the. Flora and the PTA members keep tabs on Stella by monitoring her mail, but Stella gets even by planning a phony letter from an imaginary Middle Eastern princess who just happens to be visiting Harper Valley.
Okay, now, not only are these stuck-up, elitist types, but now they're, like, going through her mail? This is creepy now.
Episode 4, Don Juan and 2. After Wanda accuses Stella of trying to destroy her marriage, Mother Hen Flora hires an actor to romance Stella and break her heart.
If it's this guy, this, I think, is like the consummate actor who would do this.
It's this guy. Playing the actor, man by the name of Steve, Jed Allen. Did everything from Santa Barbara to Celebrity Bowling.
And actually, I just saw his name pop up on an episode of Adam 12 earlier this week. So he did everything. He wasn't just a guy from soap operas. He did the occasional crime drama. I don't remember what his role was. I think I missed seeing him in that episode of Adam 12. But I caught his name in the end credits right as Tune In With Me was beginning. I love Tune In With Me, just saying.
Episode 5, The Life of Riley. Stella fakes amnesia to get the goods on Flora Riley, who is involved in a corporate cover-up that is illegally diverting water from Harper Creek. Episode 6, Stella, the Riley Girl. Stella appears in a TV commercial for Kitchen Queen paper towels, unaware that she is working for her enemy, Flora Simpson Riley, who is the CEO of the Riley Paper Company. Episode 7, Moonlighting Becomes You. The Harper Valley PTA members accuse Stella of being an alcoholic when she is seen in town gathering beer cans. She's just recycling, guys. Come on. Stop being so judgy. When Cassie refuses to throw Stella out of her hair salon, Flora tries to shut her shop down by setting up her snooty daughter Wanda in the beauty salon business. Episode 8. A tree grows in Harper Valley. Sentimental Stella chains herself to the oldest living tree in Harper Valley to save it from being bulldozed by Flora's workmen.
Married with Children did it, and did it better about 10 years later. Well, except it wasn't really a tree, it was a set of goalposts. But actually, Night Court did it even better when Bull chained himself to that theater so it didn't get destroyed.
They stole it from the new Archies when Moose chained himself to a tree and said he'll stay there forever.
Well, Al Bundy did the same, and so did Bull. The bolt cutters came out when Al Bundy sold himself for a cheeseburger, so that's when they did the demolition. I don't remember what it took for Bull. I think it actually took like stock proxies that they had, they being the rest of the Night Court crew, had enough stock proxies that they sort of overrode Dan Fielding's vote, or they encouraged Dan Fielding to use his stock proxies to stop the demolition. But hey, we have a general woman in this episode, just named woman, no name, but played by somebody we know. I'll cue it up. Susan Rattan from LA Law. Just fall down, Diana Mulder.
I really don't want to talk about it.
Oh my God!
Not another Pulaski episode.
Episode 9, Dirty Tricks. Stella picks up some extra shifts in the evening doing all the bookkeeping for the local business people in town, but the PTA members jump to the wrong conclusion and think that Stella is practicing the world's oldest profession when she is seen leaving the Harper Valley Motel late at night.
What's a hoe?
No. Whoa! 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 They teach you that in school in Utah, huh?
These people are very presumptive.
Episode 10, Stella and Howard. Flora Riley thinks that Stella has inherited millions of dollars and promptly installs her as an honorary member of the Harper Valley PTA board.
Oh, sure. Now you like her because she's got money. It just shows how phony people are in this town.
What are they like in this town, Jimmy?
Money.
Episode 11, Mayor Bobby. Mayor Harper approves an entertainment license for Kelly's Bar against town matriarch Flora Riley's advice. Angered by the mayor's actions, Flora tries to unseat the kindly Mayor Harper by backing her sleazy son-in-law, Bobby, in the upcoming mayoral election. Episode 12, Bad Day at Harper Valley. A bungling con man holds Stella, Cassie, and all the PTA board members hostage after a failed bank robbery attempt. When he realizes that he has wealthy Flora Simpson Riley's daughter Wanda among the hostages, he demands $100,000 and a 747 airliner to guarantee safe passage out of Harper Valley.
Where would they land an airplane that big in such a little, tiny town?
It's full of rich people. People own airplanes.
Okay, maybe there's a county airport or something.
And the final episode of Season 1, My Fair Stella. While taking diction lessons from the married English teacher at Harper Valley High, Stella becomes furious when she receives a sweater with a scarlet A on it from an anonymous member of the PTA board who assumes that she is having an affair.
I want to know how these stuck-up assholes got a second season. They are so pretentious and annoying. Anything that Stella does is taken the wrong way. I'm sorry. This is like such a negative TV show.
I'm looking at the schedule here. It aired Fridays at 8 on NBC. NBC in 1981. They were looking for something, anything to get excited over. So they put this show on Friday nights to lead off the night. And the schedule, it's not a terrible schedule. It's Harper Valley PTA at 8, Sanford at 8:30, Nero Wolf at 9, and NBC Magazine with David Brinkley at 10. But it is a schedule in the 80s on a Friday.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah, ABC has Benson and I'm a Big Girl now. And CBS has The Incredible Hulk, The Dukes of Hazzard, and Dallas.
Well, admittedly, only the first half hour of The Incredible Hulk would affect Harper Valley PTA. But still, you're not beating Benson first season, and you're definitely not beating Incredible Hulk.
It did well enough to warrant a second season, but not without a few changes. We're going to expand the scope of the shenanigans beyond the PTA. And we're also going to add an uncle for the Johnson family. Not only that, we're also going to move you to Thursdays instead of Fridays. The good news is you're not going up against CBS's powerhouse lineup and Benson on ABC. The bad news, well, let's start with the episode, shall we? Episode 14, Make Room for Uncle Buster. After a 3-day health food convention in Cleveland, Stella and Dee arrive home to find Stella's Uncle Buster being arrested for causing an explosion on Harper Valley Drive with one of his latest screwball inventions. Annoying and intrusive at times, but after a heart-to-heart talk with her compassionate mom, daughter Dee learns to love Uncle Buster as much as Stella. This is the first appearance of Mills Watson as he joins the cast as Uncle Buster. Mills Watson, best known for Cujo, Up in Smoke, and Papillon.
It should also be noted that apparently in this second season, the title may have gone from Harper Valley PTA just to Harper Valley.
Episode 15, Good for the Goose, Sauce for the Gander. An angry and jealous Wanda throws Bobby out of the Riley mansion because of his casual flirtations, but then lives to regret it when he turns to her rival, Stella Johnson, for comfort and support. Episode 16, Reunion Fever. At Stella's 25th high school reunion, Calvin Kendall, an old boyfriend of Cassie's, makes a play for Stella, causing the only fight that the two best friends have ever had. When Stella learns that Calvin is married, she threatens to tell Mrs. Kendall about his cheating ways unless he repairs the damage and hurt feelings that he has caused her best gal pal, Cassie. Playing Calvin Kendall, John McCook, aka Eric Forrester on The Bold and the Beautiful.
And he was a celebrity on Beat the Clock in 1980. Actually, he was a celebrity on the last week of Beat the Clock in 1980. So he was part of the closure.
Episode 17, The $500 Misunderstanding. Flora Riley tries to shut down a local men's club, unaware that Mayor Harper and her son-in-law Bobby are members. After Stella gets busted for an illegal lottery ticket and thrown in jail, she discovers from public records that Flora's great-grandmother founded the club and entertains men in a burlesque review.
Look who played an officer in this episode. We talked about this guy plenty in the past for numerous reasons. Louis Arquette. So we're talking son of Cliff Arquette, Charlie Weaver. David Arquette and Rosanna Arquette are his kids, and Patricia Arquette. So kind of the patriarch-ish of the Arquette family. Or maybe he's the second patriarch, since Cliff Arquette would be the patriarch. But he was the second generation of Arquettes that gave us the third generation of Arquettes.
Not the only name in this episode. Playing Miss Purdue, Anne Haney, who, among her many roles, was Judge Marilyn J. Travellini. on LA Law.
Now, we already did that with Susan Rattan. We're not doing it twice. I know what you said about the men's club. I think you're sort of insinuating it may be that type of men's club. Well, you said earlier that Flora's mom or something founded the men's club.
Flora's great-grandmother, yes.
So I don't think it would be that type of men's club. Maybe it's just a social club.
According to the description, Flora's great-grandmother founded the club and entertained men in a burlesque review.
Well, entertaining could be singing and dancing, doesn't involve having to take off clothes. Just throwing out that long shot of a possibility out there.
Have you ever been to a burlesque review, Mike?
Can you tell I haven't?
I haven't either, but I have friends who were actually burlesque performers.
Right. Isn't that right, Greg? Say right. Right.
Right.
There we go.
Episode 18, Stella's Scam. Stella gets a new job as Mayor Harper's assistant, and a shady man called Slick offers her $10,000 to steal copies of the construction bids for a new wing of Harper Valley's hospital.
I can't see this guy playing a guy named Slick. I'm sorry.
Playing a guy named Slick, Abe Vigoda.
I'm sorry. Abe Vigoda lost his slickness when he left Barney Miller.
Episode 19, Harper Valley Christmas. After the Scrooge-like CEO of Riley Enterprises, that would be Flora Simpson Riley, refuses to sign the holiday bonus checks for all her employees, she is knocked unconscious by a falling Christmas tree. Later, she is visited by 3 ghosts who show how her miserable life will end if she does not change her evil ways.
We just talked about this in the last episode with Dr. Doctor. They're running out of ideas.
It gets even more blatant than that, Mike. One of the characters in this episode is named Mr. Dickens.
Oh, jeez. Well, at least it wasn't Tiny Boy and Mrs. Cratchit from Dr. Doctor.
Played by one of the comedic greats, Stubby K. Episode 20, Low Noon. A destructive motorcycle gang called the Banditos has arrived in Harper Valley. The gang's leader, Clutch Breath, has informed town matriarch Flora Riley that they have no intention of leaving unless Stella Johnson goes with them. Playing Clutch Breath? Oh my god, are you kidding me?
What kind
Do
of...
it! Do it!
2-Take Frakes, Jonathan Frakes.
Oh my god. I was going to say, what kind of stupid name is that? But let's remember, it is number 1 after all. But let's not forget, earlier this year, I bought a signed Inkworks card of Jonathan Frakes from the Roswell set.
Where we also know Jonathan Frakes from. And we've done a couple of live shows. We haven't done one of these in a long time. He was the host of Fact or Fiction.
Beyond Belief.
Beyond Belief.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction.
And it has its own fast channel on Plex.
It does?
Yes.
Oh, I've got to find that. I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Is it just called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction?
Yup.
Okay, I'm looking for it right now. While I do that, I think Chico's going to episode 8 in season 2.
I'm just gonna bring up this person's character, not the actress who plays her, but her character's name is Twin Carbs.
Hold on. Worst parody of Twin Peaks ever.
I think that's what I had for dinner tonight, twin carbs.
I don't think that's why they call her Twin Carbs, Mike.
Why would they call her twin carbs then, Chico? Please, enlighten me.
Because she has 2 carburetors, duh.
And we all know carburetors is slang for nice carbs, honey! That's what they said at the men's club.
Right.
Show us your muffler!
Episode 21, Flora's Dinner Party. A newspaper publisher gets on Flora's bad side. No guest stars of note, but the writer, Jerry Davis, one of the lead writers of The Odd Couple, and Bewitched, and 77 Sunset Strip. Episode 22, The Show Must Go On. Flora Simpson Riley writes a play for a community theater production and casts her daughter in the lead role of the Viking princess. But after Wanda falls and injures herself during a rehearsal, the director insists that Stella takes over the starring role in Flora's dramatic epic, The Curse of the Widow's Heart. Playing said director, Leslie Dupre, Larry Storch.
Larry Storch is probably best known for playing Corporal Agarn on F Troop.
Episode 23, Fire Chief Follies. When the town's fire department, run by Flora Riley, fails to respond to a local neighborhood blaze because of irresponsible volunteers and antiquated equipment, Stella demands that the town council elect a new fire chief. But when Stella is elected to the position, Flora and her daughter Wanda do everything in their power to sabotage their efforts to improve the department's efficiency. Episode 24, Svengali of the Valley. A doctor's post-hypnotic suggestion turns town meanie, Flora Simpson Riley, into Stella's unlikely new best gal pal. Temporarily, anyway. Playing a doctor in this episode, Richard Shull from Phyllis and the Mary Tyler Moore Show, among others.
Also the father of Wendy Shull. We've talked about him in the past. Wendy Shull from It's a Living, or Making a Living. She didn't make it to syndication, but also the voice of Francine Smith on American Dad.
And Louis Arquette returns as Lyle Oliver this time. I believe he's playing two characters in this series. Episode 25, Stella Della. The townspeople of Harper Valley think that Stella has flipped her wig when she becomes nasty and aggressively pursues a married man, Bobby Taylor, in a public restaurant. Stella has a hard time convincing everyone that her lookalike cousin, Della, is actually the brazen hussy. Yep, we've got an evil twin episode, folks. Barbara Eden plays evil twin Della, which is the same as Stella, but with a black wig instead of her blonde hair. And playing Dr. Arfel, Ron Friedman. Episode 26, Stella Ray. With the help of a charismatic union organizer named Kowalski, Stella joins the picket lines to protest the unfair working conditions in Harper Valley, which is run by the ruthless Flora Simpson Riley. Playing Kowalski, Sal Viscuso.
Tim Flotsky, we've talked about him plenty on Soap.
And playing a redhead, Cassandra Peterson.
A.K.A.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Episode 27, Harper Valley Hoedown. Flora's rich cowboy nephew from Texas has agreed to give her millions of dollars to make improvements at the Riley paper mill, with one condition. Cousin Claude is depressed about how his love life is and wants Aunt Flora to hook him up with that pretty little heifer Stella Johnson.
That pretty little heifer Stella Johnson? I almost feel like I should put Matt Veskursen in here saying, "What's a heifer?"
What is a heifer?
Well, apparently Barbara Eden's a heifer.
Playing Cousin Claude, Geach Cook from Carter Country, among others. Playing Buffy, Sally Julian.
Oh, when you said playing Buffy, I thought you were going to be saying Buffy Family Affair, but that wouldn't make any sense.
No! I can see Sally Julian saying, "Mrs. Beasley needs appendix removal." Flashback to last episode. And it's only an 8-inch deep incision.
Episode 28, Grizzly Gap. Stella chaperones Dee and her friends on a school-related camping trip deep in the woods of Grizzly Gap. During a friendly poker game, Stella's Uncle Buster and Mayor Harper learn that a dangerous criminal has escaped from jail and is heading back to his old hideout at Grizzly Gap. Penultimate episode, The Return of Charlie's Chow Palace. Stella and her Uncle Buster help restore a 1950s teenage hangout to its original glory despite Flora Simpson Riley's plans to bulldoze it and erect a monument to herself. Because that is totally a thing she would do. Playing Charlie in this episode, Joyce Bulifant.
She was on Flow back in 1980 and 81, so this was definitely not concurrent.
And the final episode, Harper Valley Sentinel. A handsome newspaper publisher named Tom Meacham gets on Flora's bad side when he prints an editorial in the local paper criticizing one of her companies. To make matters worse, he invites Flora's enemy, Stella Johnson, as his date to a lavish dinner party thrown by the Grand Dame herself, where a political debate ensues, as well as a lot of hilarity. Playing Tom Meacham, Christopher Stone, who is in 48 episodes as Chris McCullough of The New Lassie. They made a New Lassie?
Yeah, it was on the Family Channel.
Wasn't that Rin Tin Tin Canine Cop, or was that something else?
No, that's
No.
a different show, but it was around the same time. Also around the same time as Zorro and Son, so this is the high-quality entertainment bar that CBN set back in the day. Plus, also, wouldn't that Body by Jake sitcom been on at this point?
Oh, yes, it would have.
See, it's so popular. I just said that Body by Jake sitcom. Uncle Jake or whatever it was?
Big Brother Jake.
Big Brother Jake. Yeah, it just hit me. So yeah, this is the time of all of the great CBN Family Channel shows. The New Lassie, Rin Tin Tin Canine Cop, Big Brother Jake, Zorro and Son, and what's the one you just came up with, Greg?
That's My Dog. Complete with a crappy-ass CDI animated opening.
And that's the show. Mike, do you have the ratings for season 2? Because they danced around the time slots a bit. It started on Thursdays at 8, then they moved it to Saturdays at 9, and then they moved it to Saturdays at 8:30?
Well, I think there's a good reason it got moved from Thursday nights. The competition, no. It's not beating Mork and Mindy. And it probably isn't beating an upstart rookie show by the name of Magnum PI, the first half hour of that. When Harper Valley moved to 9 p.m. on Saturdays, the competition was the first half hour of a movie on CBS, but also 9 p.m. in the early 80s on Saturday nights on ABC, first half hour of The Love Boat. That's not good. When the show moved to 8:30s on Saturday nights, the competition was the second half hour of King's Crossing and something Disney on CBS. I didn't know CBS ever aired anything Disney, especially on a Saturday night.
Well, remember, between 1981 to 83, they got the rights to air Walt Disney. And they aired it as, quote-unquote, Walt Disney.
And just taking a look here at this week that I have up, it was Beyond Witch Mountain. So maybe not the Wonderful World of Disney that we're used to, but yeah, that 9 p.m. slot definitely was bad competition. It was a little bit better at 8:30, but not good enough. And if we do take a look at the ratings, I think that can paint a little bit of a picture as well. Now, I don't have first season ratings, but I have a number of ratings for the second season. Looking at Christmas time of 1981, Harper Valley PTA was 38th out of 50 shows that week. And actually, I talked about that upstart Magnum PI. This week, it was 45th out of 50. So maybe not the upstart that I initially thought it was. If we look a little further into the 1981-82 season, I have a week from early February of 1982. There were 71 shows in this week, and Harper Valley was 56th. And interestingly enough, it did beat King's Crossing that week. King's Crossing was, I don't want to say what rating King's Crossing was out of 71 shows. You know what? I'm going to say it because I can edit out your reaction. It was 69th.
Cool.
Awesome.
You saved me the edit there. Greg, you're very sneaky there. A little bit later in the month of February, we're talking about the third week of February. Harper Valley, out of 72 shows, finished tied with Fame for 58th. Again, not looking terribly good at this point. It did beat King's Crossing again, which may show how bad of a show King's Crossing was. But it also beat Bosom Buddies. It beat Mork and Mindy, admittedly on its last legs. It beat Open All Night. 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 And it beat Making a Living. The last week of ratings that I'm going to share is from middle of April of 1982. Out of 68 TV shows, Harper Valley was 64th. It's not coming back when it's 64th out of 68 shows.
After this second season, NBC decided to disband the Harper Valley PTA and pave over the titular valley itself and replace it with, I don't know, something. Ever since then, the show entered syndication briefly, and it was rerun on TV Land briefly, but no whole episodes exist on this entire internet. There are bits and pieces of episodes, but nothing substantial.
I have an answer as to what would have replaced Harper Valley at 8:30s on Saturdays for the 1982-83 season. Not a bad show to be replaced by. This did a lot better. A little show called Silver Spoons.
Sherwood Schwartz and Lloyd Schwartz would go on to adapt a loose pilot that they had for the Brady Bunch into something for another network. Then they'd actually bring back the Brady Bunch. Then they'd actually bring back Gilligan's Island. The point is, the Schwartz were busy after this. Harper Valley, it was a really banger of a country song back in the 60s and a funny movie in the 70s. But in the 1980s, Harper Valley was just a thing on TV.
You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV Podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time. We did a show about this topic a couple of years ago. I don't remember how long ago it was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I felt the need that we had to revisit this and do a second volume. Consider this maybe a buyer's guide for the holiday season. Consider it maybe Greg and Mike's contribution to the show with their love of their favorite hobby. But we're going back to 2.5 inches by 3.5 inch pieces of cardboard. We're going back to look at trading cards. There's some that we skipped previously, but also the hobby itself for non-sports cards, specifically TV show cards, really is as big as maybe it's ever been. I can tell you when I went to the national show this past July, a lot of people were trying to pick up non-sports trading cards, TV cards, movie cards, and I'll be one of the first to admit that's where most of my money went. I did not buy many baseball cards at the National. I spent my money on celebrity cards. So we'll come to you next week on Monday with the Trading Card Show Volume 2, right here at It Was a Thing on TV. Before we go, though, it's time to do our annual Viewer's Choice episode. I know Greg has his episode chosen. I know Chico has his episode chosen. I've got my choice all set. So we'll start with Chico. What are you putting up for the Viewer's Choice?
It was an animated TV show based on a popular video game character in the 1980s. My choice for Viewer's Choice is Mega Man the Animated Series from 1994.
Greg, what is your selection that you're going to put up in the viewer choice vote?
I'm going to pick something so horrible. People are going to debate should I vote it or not, okay? My pick is Work It. It's like the 2000s Bosom Buddies, but more terrible.
For my selection, I'm actually going to go with a show we actually mentioned in this episode. I'm going to go with Flow. So we're going to go with the Flow, and we're going to go with Work It, and we're going to go with Mega Man the Cartoon. Vote on social media. You can vote on Facebook. You can vote on the Instagram page. I'm sure we'll have some sort of voting mechanism on either Blue Sky or Threads. The vote's going to run only until next Friday. Probably cut it off at like 5 in the afternoon. So you got a little bit over a week to vote. So don't dilly-dally. Go to the socials. Cast your vote. And whatever you pick, we are going to cover in the second episode next week after the trading card show. So do your duty. Vote. But also, please remember, come back next Monday for the Trading Card Show Volume 2. Right here it is a thing on TV. As always, thank you very much for listening. Spread the word. Leave a positive review. Leave a rating so we can be seen. And we will catch you on Monday with that trading card episode.
Wow!
Saturday.
Holy hot
The Mandrell sisters. Then Stella joins a motorcycle gang. On Harper Valley. And there's some hanky-panky. On Lewis and Clark. Then Television Inside and Out looks at real cops, the kind who inspired Hill Street Blues. Saturday on NBC.